How you doing, guys? This is Eric from secretoftheinternet.com and rulethewasteland.com. It's been a very interesting week or 10 days or so since I made my last video. We have Donald Trump's campaign manager being actually charged with assault for an incident that took place at one of the speeches that he gave, one I believe is a victory speech for on a primary day. We have Ted Cruz being embroiled in a mistress sex scandal as outed by the National Enquirer. We have Hillary facing further hurdles with her email scandal. We have California attempting to, or actually just recently deciding to raise their minimum wage to $15 an hour. We have central banks around the world basically coming right out and stating that they may employ the helicopter type monetary stimulus for their economies. And we have multiple people on both sides of the inflation and deflation argument calling for stock market corrections coming up here in the near future. So following one of the speeches that Trump gave after winning a primary day, I'm not sure which one off the top of my head, there was a reporter after the questions and answer portion of the speech, Michelle Fields, who I believe worked at the Breitbart at the time, was attempting to ask Donald Trump a question, forced her way into his entourage, and was pulled back by someone when she got close. And she claimed that she was thrown to the ground by Corey Lewandowski, who is Donald Trump's campaign manager. There was audio that they released with her and another reporter saying that, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. You're basically like, what threat were you? You were like, he almost threw you to the ground and things like that. She posted pictures of her arm, her lower arm being bruised. And there's a great write-up on this. If you check out Mike Cernovich's work at dangerandplay.com and his Twitter feed, he's done a lot of the digging up, and a lot of news stories have started to pick up the work that he's done on this. But that's the general gist of it. And then there was very few, despite all the reporters around there, almost no one had caught sight of this incident on film. And she then finally went and actually pressed charges against Corey Lewandowski. And then Trump's organization actually released information, or released video, because it was held in one of his clubs, like Mar-a-Lago or something in Florida. And so he had video, like security video of the event. And it does look like Lewandowski was the one who may have touched her, but it was like, he wasn't even looking at her. He grabbed her arm and like pulled her to the side because the entire entourage was moving forward. And she had actually worked in between Secret Service agents and Trump, and a Secret Service agent has even come out and corroborated that, saying that she basically barged in past her past the security, but she went ahead and she actually touched Trump too during this, like touched his arm, but she pressed charges on Corey Lewandowski, and so now he's facing misdemeanor battery charge in Florida. It's completely bogus. If you look at the video, you can see that people are assaulted or battered more than this, getting onto a public bus or in line at the post office or Disney World, or certainly any media scrum or anything like that. Not to mention the fact that she was forcing her way in to ask a question after the press conference was over. And so we'll see what happens with this. I think it was an obvious smear attack, but we'll see. And the one thing I really do like about this is it's caused a bit of, and I don't want to even say a scandal, but a bit of a kerfuffle for Donald Trump, because it once again contributes to the narrative, or trying to contribute to the narrative, that he doesn't care about women, even though this wasn't him, it was his campaign manager and Secret Service agents. But what I really like about him, and it's so easy for these politicians to try and distance themselves from any bad publicity, that normally they just throw people under the bus, they have people resign, and he said, no, I'm standing by my guy. He's fiercely loyal. He's even brought the guy up on stage after the allegations first surfaced and said, you're doing a great job. And people were really appalled at that. And I'm like, first of all, whether or not he's doing a great job has nothing to do with the incident in question. So I don't know why that bent him out of shape. He either is doing a good job managing the campaign or he's not. Even if he did throw this girl to the ground, that would be a separate issue from that. But it's really great to see someone who it would be really easy for him to remove some of the heat by just saying, yeah, this guy fucked up, I'm fired, he's resigning or whatever, but he's standing by his people. And that type of loyalty is something that you don't see in politicians today, and it's because he's not a politician. And it's very, very comforting to see that, and it definitely improves my perception of Trump even further as being someone who, despite being a bit of a blowhard, is actually genuinely a good person. In other political scandal news, Ted Cruz is facing his own, Lion Ted is facing his own scandal with a allegation that was released by the National Enquirer that he has had up to 5 mistresses. They blanked faces out in the pictures that they released, but 3 of them have been identified. One was a manager or a high-level campaign operator in Carly Fiorina's campaign. One of them was actually a Trump spokesperson at one point or another, not sure if they still are, and one was worked for the Cruz campaign, Amanda Carpenter. Now, there's a lot of evidence on this scandal also on dangerandplay.com, and there is really compelling evidence, I think, that at least Amanda Carpenter definitely has had sex with Ted Cruz, and the non-denials that they've been releasing have been very, very telling. First of all, it took them a few days to even respond, and then they responded with, which was very calculated wording that danced around the issue of whether or not he's ever cheated on his wife. He has still refused to come out and say, I have never cheated on my wife. He's come out and said the National Enquirer story is garbage, it's not true, which could be a technically true statement if he's cheated on 4, 3, 2, 1, or 6 or more people, because they just said he's cheated with 5 people. So he could say that's not true. And then to muddy the waters even further, there has been evidence come out that his Cruz super PAC donated $500,000 to Carly Fiorina's campaign, or Carly Fiorina's super PAC, which is highly irregular, and $50,000 of that actually went to the woman who is working on her campaign, who has been accused of cheating with Ted Cruz, cheating on his wife with that affair. So that's very, very unusual. So unusual, in fact, that the FEC is looking into that transfer of money, and now Cruz is, instead of just releasing the data, has opted to push off and basically probably have to go to court because of it, just because he knows that it won't happen until later in 2017 or maybe even later. So he's pushing off exposing the truth. So all this, I think, is really damning, and he still has yet to come out and just say, I have never cheated on my wife. I really, really would bet big money on the fact that he has. We'll see what that has to do with his campaign, specifically in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the last chance for Cruz to have even a remote shot of getting the nomination, and even a realistic shot of stopping Trump from getting the 1,237 delegates. If Trump loses Wisconsin, he still can get the 1,237 delegates. It'll just be a bit of a setback. But if Cruz does not win Wisconsin, then it's completely over for him. He has almost no shot at this point. And so we'll see what happens. That's coming up on June 5th, I believe, this Tuesday, or not, the next Tuesday in June 5th, I believe. It's a very interesting set of situations we have coming up, so keep your eyes on that. Hillary Clinton, another scandal that has not gone away for her, is an email scandal involving classified information. She originally said that, I know I've talked about this before, that she has not sent any classified information with her private servers. That has actually so far been absolutely proven to be false. There's upwards of 2,000 emails that have contained classified information, so we know at least she did send classified information with her servers. The question is now, what is the FBI and the Attorney General going to do about it? We're apparently reaching the end of the FBI's investigation into the matter, at least it appears so. They've started to not investigate, but I guess they started to, what's the word I'm looking for? Having a brain fart. Not interrogate, interview. They've set up interviews with aides, and they even are rumored to be setting up an interview with Hillary Clinton herself. And from what I understand, the interview portion is usually the last step of the way, because they gather all their evidence, then they go ask the people and see if the words and what their story is lines up. They've already offered immunity to one person involved in this questioning process, which is a bad sign for Hillary Clinton, because you don't offer someone immunity unless there's charges pending for someone. So even if it might not be Hillary Clinton, could be some of her aides or something like that. So I'm very, very much looking forward to the truth coming out on this topic. I really hope the FBI does what's right, and I hope that there is enough pressure that the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, I cannot talk today, does what she needs to do in the interest of justice and due process, and actually pushes forward with the indictment of Hillary Clinton. I have already recommended, or not recommended, I cannot talk today. I've already predicted online in comments to a few YouTube videos and making that prediction here, that I do not think Hillary Clinton, for one reason or another, will make it to the general election as the Democratic nominee. I think there's a chance she might actually become the nominee initially and then drop out, or she might drop out before the nomination process. Bernie Sanders is starting to get closer to her. He's swept 3 caucus states a few days ago in massive, massive landslides. It was a little bit of a black eye to Hillary Clinton's campaign, although she still has a massive delegate lead, even not including the super delegates. But with that, supposed health reasons, and the FBI thing looming over her head, she may want to avoid the embarrassment, but only after it's become very clear that something's going to go down. So that's my prediction. And I also predict that Trump will get the 1,237 delegates necessary to clinch the nomination and avoid a brokered convention. And I predict that he will smash either Hillary or Bernie in the general election by a landslide not seen since Reagan's election. Book it. In economic news, we have just not national banks. I really cannot talk today. I'm sorry, guys. Central bank. I don't have a script. I'm not reading for anything for these videos, so I kind of stumble over my words sometimes. If you don't like it, I'll give you a full refund for everything you paid to watch this video. Anyways, central banks around the world have been talking recently about how they're open to the fact of just dumping money into the hands of private citizens to boost economic activity and to provide a stimulus. The helicopter money term originally came from former Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke, who once said that he would be willing to throw money out of a helicopter before just giving into deflation. And now central banks around the world, I think in Japan and others, have echoed this sentiment where they would be willing to put money directly into the hands of private citizens to boost economic activity. Now, and the next story that I'm going to mention is California raising its minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2022. They're doing an initial 50-cent raise or something like that, and then dollar raises every year until 2022, at which time the national, or I cannot talk, guys, I'm really sorry. The minimum wage in the state at that time will be $15 an hour. $15 an hour by 2022 is what I'm seeing. So, with things like this in mind, minimum wage being jacked up, irrespective of market forces, central banks around the world talking about dropping money out of helicopters basically to stimulate the economy, I don't see how we can have deflation. We have people like Harry Dent coming out. He's long been a deflation supporter, and that's his prediction. Then we have people like Peter Schiff, Gregor Mannarino saying that there absolutely will be inflation. I tend to agree with them for these reasons that I've just stated, and for the fact that I don't think our currency and the current system we have can support a standard deflationary model. If that sort of forces overtake the massive money printing, the jacked up minimum wage, the helicopter money, and everything else that they're willing to do, the stimulus, which they could do an infinite amount of basically, the currency system and just the way that the economies of the world are right now, it would just cause an instant currency collapse, which would look very similar to hyperinflation anyway. You wouldn't see the massive amounts of currency floating around the system that you would during a Weimar Republic type situation, but the currency will become worthless. So if a currency goes to zero, if it takes $0 to buy an ounce of gold or $100 trillion to buy an ounce of gold, the effect on the economy is going to be roughly the same, which is people are going to switch away from that currency into using other things like gold and silver. So in my mind, that is still what is going to happen. And the interesting thing about these predictions from people like Harry Dent and Peter Schiff is that all of them, regardless of whether they're saying inflation or deflation, tend to predict a crash in the markets. So if nothing else, that is the one thing that we should be preparing for, because pretty much everybody agrees on it. Just a question of when and to what extent it will affect other aspects of the economy. But Peter Schiff and the inflationistas and Harry Dent and Vox Day and the other deflationistas, for lack of a better word, are all saying that there will be large market corrections, at least in the beginning. So that's something to think about. If you don't know what you're going to do, you can just bet on that at least. Get your money out of the markets, get your money out of the US dollar. I really don't think that in the light of these things like rising minimum wage, helicopter money being dumped everywhere, Central Reserve banks just being able to create debt, that there is going to be an increase in the value, a dramatic increase in the value of these currencies. We've seen a race to the bottom with these currencies all over the world, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. Let me know what you guys think about this and other stuff. As always, you can check out rulethewasteland.com and secretoftheinternet.com, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.